when one talks about Turkey and Ethiopia, there is a whole lot of history that goes back centuries. And as to formal diplomatic history between the two sovereign nations, it all began in 1910, when Turkey opened a consulate in Harar, in the walled city of Harar. That was followed up in 1912. In 2 years' time, Turkey opened its consulate in Addis Ababa. It started with Harar, and then after 2 years in Addis Ababa itself. When that was done, the Harar consulate office was transformed into an honorary status because the capital city. Then in 1926, Turkey upgraded its consulate to an embassy level from a consulate level. That was followed up in 7 years in 1933, when Ethiopia, at the time Imperial Ethiopia, opened officially its embassy in Ankara. That was unprecedented. There was no other African nation that opened in Ankara, as well as there was no other African nation that opened in the Turkey embassy in Addis as well. Then, after a lapse of literally 51 years or 50 years at most, in 1984, the embassy of Ethiopia in Ankara was closed down during the Derg military regime. I think at the time, as I tried to find out, and the reason was lack of budget and financial reasons. Therefore, after again another lapse of many years, in 2006 April, once again Ethiopia decided to reopen its embassy in Ankara. Officially in 2006, Ethiopia sent its modern age ambassador, and that was the former president of Ethiopia, Dr. Mulatu Teshome, became ambassador designate, and he presented his credentials. Both leaders, the Ethiopian emperor of the time, when we go back to the 60s, Emperor Haile Selassie paid 2 visits, official visits in Istanbul and in Ankara. The first was in 1967 and the second was in 1971. And that was also reciprocated by other Turkish leaders. And even according to my research, in 1971, Ethiopia had even opened, on top of, besides the Ankara embassy, a consulate general in Istanbul. That was also very historical. How long it existed, I couldn't be verified. Turkey had designed policy, both economic and political, and that was in regard to the African continent. It's called the Africa-Turkey Partnership Summit. The third one was held in December 2021, and the fourth one will be held in 2026. And it has 5 strategic cooperation areas that are identified. It involves peace, security, and governance. Second, trade, investment, and industry. Third, education, science, technology, innovation, skills, youth and women development. Number 4, infrastructure development and agriculture. And lastly, number 5, promoting resilient health systems. These are the cornerstones for the Turkish foreign policy in regard to bolstering trade, investment, tourism, and cooperation between African states and Turkey itself. In so doing, there is TICA, and TICA now has offices in 22 coordinating offices in the continent of Africa. And the first one was opened in Addis, and TICA means the Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, and this plays a role like a bridge, bringing business and business interests of both African and Turkish business. Turkey is a very fascinating country. It is a country that is saddled between Europe, the European continent, and the Asian continent. 97% of Turkey lies in Asia, and only 3% of the territory of Turkey lies in Europe. And also Turkey is known for the Ottoman Empire. This Ottoman Empire, which lasted for 450 years, began in 1368, around that time, 1368, and it lasted all the way to 1818. And it is this Ottoman Empire that was also in close contact with today's Egypt, today's Eritrea, and also today's Ethiopia, especially on the Harar side. So there is a whole lot of history. And one final note about Turkish foreign policy is with the new leadership of Turkey coming to power in 2002 and 2003, in 2005, it was declared by the President Erdogan, as the Year of Africa. And ever since then, the diplomatic relation, the economic and trade relations between Turkey and Africa had reached very, very high level. And even Turkey had only 12 embassies by this time, by 2005, and it opened, and now it has 44 embassies in the African continent in the year 2021. So that also needs to be underlined. Greetings. I have for you Her Excellency, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary, Ambassador Yaprak Alp, distinguished diplomat who is serving her nation, Turkey, since October 2019. It's me, Brukailu. This is Diplomatic Corner, Nahoo TV. So we are going to discuss about a wide range of issues regarding the very long historical relations between the Republic of Turkey and Ethiopia. So please stay with us, tune with us. Thank you. Your Excellency, welcome. Welcome to our program, Diplomatic Corner, we call it in Nahoo TV. It's one of those vibrant private TV stations in Ethiopia, which we are very proud of. And thank you for agreeing to be interviewed.
Thank you for inviting me.
You are welcome, quite welcome. It's an honor. We are honored for that. Let us begin our discussion with the significance of the Ethiopian-Turkish historical bilateral relations. Thank you.
Of course, it's always a pleasure for me to talk about Turkish-Ethiopia relations. The more you read about it, the more you try to understand, the more you realize how rich it is. Every time I look into something, I learn something new. These go back centuries, and it's always been based on friendship and brotherhood. The real diplomatic relations started in 1896 when the two emperors sent delegations to each other. Wonderful photos of those times, etc. Then, after 1896, Turkey opened a consulate general in Harar. Harar is a city in Ethiopia with which Turkey feels special affinity because many Ottomans went and decided to establish themselves there 2 or 3 times throughout history. And in time they intermarried with Harari ladies, they had families. When I first went to Harar, when I arrived here 3 years ago, there were a group of people who were saying, we're Turkish, we're Turkish. They were hugging me, and it was, we all had tears in our eyes, etc., because they are of mixed blood. So we do have special relations with Harar, as we do with everywhere in Ethiopia. And so the Ottomans decided to establish a consulate general in Harar, a beautiful old building, which was used for many years. It was demolished, of course, it was very old, and I'm very, very happy to say that I had the great honor of reopening this building 2 years ago, after we restored it to its old magnificence. And it's now being used as a Turkish cultural center in Harar, giving the Turkish culture to Harari people.
Wonderful.
The Ethiopians, of course, did not leave us empty-handed. Ethiopia, a few years later, in 1926, we opened our embassy, and they opened a few years later the Ethiopian embassy in Ankara. And ever since, we have had very significant Turkish-Ethiopian relations. In the 60s, there were visits from Emperor Haile Selassie, from our then president to here, and in those days it was more difficult to do these things. So you can see the importance that they attached. They were going to each other's countries. And we feel with Ethiopia, we have had very similar challenges, issues with counterterrorism, issues with migration, illegal migration, and we have tried to help each other at international fora. I was at the United Nations for 5 years in Geneva, and I saw how Turkey and Ethiopia felt very similar about these issues, had the same problems, and tried to join hands to face these issues together along with the rest of the international community.
Wonderful.
Yes.
A great story indeed. A great story indeed. I mean, for us Ethiopians, I mean, we have occurrences, contact with foreign countries. Among those group of countries, with Turkey is well known. When we go to Harar, everybody knows there is a Turkish line, or the Turkish relations cemented by blood. I know of even a definite family, also very good friends. They are of Turkish and Harari origin. And there's a whole lot of history, and not only that, as an Ethiopian American, it gives me great pride. My God, long time ago, and as far as I know, I think it's the oldest embassy of a black nation, I think, in Turkey. If I'm
you are right. It's Addis Ababa is the first embassy that Turkey opened in sub-Saharan Africa. Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, comes first for us in many ways in our relations with Africa. It was among the first, again, for Turkish Airlines to fly to. Our very famous development cooperation agency, TICA, opened its first office in sub-Saharan Africa in Addis Ababa. A lot of things have happened here first. It's like our door to the rest of Africa. Not just because you are the capital of the African Union, but because of our historic relations. We come here first. But it has evolved. Yes, there's this history, but at the same time, it has evolved very fast in the last 20 years or so. Just to give you an example, in 2005, there were only 3 Turkish companies operating in Ethiopia, only 3. Today, 2022, there are 225 companies.
Very good.
Our total investment is now $2.5 billion in this country. And that's the most Turkey invests in any country in sub-Saharan Africa. Almost half of our total investment in sub-Saharan Africa, which is $6 billion, is in Ethiopia.
Wow.
I hope that this will increase.
Absolutely.
Of course, we are looking out to Turkish investors, telling them about Ethiopia, etc. And we hope this will increase. Trade as well has been increasing despite COVID. Because in COVID times, of course, usually these things decreased between countries. However, our trade volume has increased now to $805 million. And the aim that the 2 ministers of Turkey and Ethiopia put a few months ago even was $1 billion. So I'm confident that we are going to reach the aim that our ministers gave to us.
Wonderful. Maybe we'll continue on the economic side, because Turkey had developed a very fine foreign policy and diplomacy strategy, and that's the Turkish African Partnership Summit, the last one, which was held in December 2021. It was delayed, of course, for obvious reasons, COVID and the like. Would you please care to share with us, enlighten us about the goal, mission, and objective of that Turkish African Partnership Summit?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just let me give you a little background for that first. We started we have a multilateral, multifaceted foreign policy in Turkey. And then it was in 1998 that Turkey said we have to focus more on Africa. And we started our Africa Initiative policy. We looked towards it. Africa was becoming more and more important, a huge player on the global stage. And this Africa Initiative policy quickly evolved. And by 2008, 2013, we called it Africa Partnership Policy. That's how fast it evolved.
Very true.
And of course, when we looked at Africa, we look at it first in bilateral ways, bilateral relations with all countries, and of course the multilateral, which is the African Union, situated here in Addis Ababa. So with the African Union, we became an observer member in 2008, and then a strategic partner. So our relations have evolved. We had 3 summits. The third one, as you said, was last December, and we believe it was a great success. We believe that our African counterparts also believed that it was a success. We came out with great conclusions, great concrete steps to be taken forward in the next 4 or 5 years until the next summit. Every facet was discussed. political, economic, cultural, social, every facet was discussed and concrete decisions were taken. We are now having meetings to make sure that these don't just stay on paper, that these actually happen.
Very true, yeah.
So already, although it's only been a few months since the summit, we are having meetings to make sure that these continue.
Very true.
Turkey in Africa has, I think, we have this policy of an equal partnership based on sharing past experiences. Everyone has a lot to learn from everyone.
Yeah.
And we try to share our experiences with African countries. And we try to do this through a variety of soft power tools. Education being one of them, for example. Because each time one African student comes to Turkey to study, comes back as an ambassador of Turkey in Africa. We have seen that. I see that here in my everyday life in Ethiopia. 15,000 students have been given scholarships from Africa up to now, and that's continuing and increasing. Our trade, which was about $5 billion when this whole started 20 years ago, is now at $26 billion. Investments have increased as much. The number of embassies in 2005 was 12. Now we have 44 embassies, almost in all countries in Africa, and we are looking at increasing them as well. There were very few embassies, African embassies, in Ankara. Now there are 37. So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way interest. There is a feeling, I think, of partnership and trust between African countries and Turkey, which lays the groundwork for better work.
Wonderful. Yeah, you put it very well. You know, there is much to gain on both sides. You know, there is technology. Turkey is ahead in economic progress. And Africa, with a market of 1.3 billion people, is a source for Turkish products. So technology transfer, education, science, sport, women affairs, everything. I mean, there is a benefit for both sides, hand in hand. You know, Turkey and African countries as well. There are possibilities, obvious possibilities that they can grow. So I couldn't agree more with you, Madam Ambassador. That's really so. And the next one, I believe, will be held in 2026 in Africa, I believe.
Yes, this time it was, the last one was held in Istanbul, so this one will be in an African country, which the African Union will decide upon.
Wonderful.
And we are looking very much forward to that.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, let's move to the second question, and that's what are the cornerstones of the African policy, Turkish African policy?
Yes, as I just said, we try to make sure that this is a soft power issue where we try to dwell on the cultural, the historic relations, the education, economy, trade, investment. And one thing that happens with investment, I believe, that makes Turkish investment very welcome to African countries is that Turkish companies don't just come earn their money and then leave. No, they become a part of society. And as you were just saying, this technological transfer, know-how transfer, etc., are very important.
Yes.
Because what good does it do to any African country if Turkish companies come and leave? No, they come, and first they make sure that they teach the technology, and then they ensure that, for example, here in Ethiopia, that Ethiopians become middle management, high management. They are the ones now taking ownership and managing, and then they can go, and we have had that with major companies. You have Ethiopian people who have learned the technological know-how in Turkish companies, and then go to other African countries and teach it there. And so it becomes an intermeshed, happy kind of virtuous circle,
win-win,
where it's very much win-win. Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Now let's move to the Horn of Africa. Why the Horn of Africa, regionally where Ethiopia belongs, is Turkey is very near also to that part of Africa, and Turkey is engaged in the Horn of Africa, in the Horn region. And most of all, what I would like to underline, and as you well know, peace and stability in the Horn region, Turkey has really contributed in that. Could you please share some of the measures and actions that the Republic of Turkey had taken so far?
Of course. The Horn of Africa, just when you look at a map, you see how close we are, Turkey and the Horn of Africa. Turkey cannot be uninfluenced by anything happening in the Horn of Africa. However, the Horn of Africa has now become so important that it's not just Turkey. It's the whole wider region, global region, globally even. The repercussions of anything that happens here is felt. We've seen that in the previous months. The Horn of Africa is always on the agenda of the world. We you can see the importance that Turkey attaches to this region by the fact that we have embassies in every single Horn of Africa state and a consulate general in Hargeisa as well.
Yeah, yeah.
We have very frequent visits. And we feel that any instability here in even one city, one region of any country, in one country, etc., will have waves and it will go everywhere. So Turkey, with its embassies, has an approach of saying that in order to overcome the challenges such as terrorism, illegal migration, a drought, regional instability, internal instability that these countries face, what is needed is a good economy, more interdependence, etc. So the way that Turkey deals with this is to make sure that we help in increasing development, that we increase our economic cooperation, that we improve the institutional capacities of these countries as they see fit, of course, and to provide humanitarian aid. Because when there is more welfare, then it's much easier to deal with radicalism, extremism, terrorism, etc. So that's the way we try to go about it in our help.
Creating jobs.
Yes.
Giving a reason for living to the youth. If the youth get education, more jobs, more factories, more investment by Turkey means more jobs for Somalis, for Ethiopians, and definitely that is a big contribution towards peace and stability, definitely. And that's where really Turkey had fit in, especially in Somalia since 2011.
Yes.
And if you could care to say a bit about, we live in a globalized world, and also in a place of groups regarding terrorism and the like. And here in this part of Africa, even Ethiopia is challenged by, say, Al-Shabaab elements. Then the Al-Qaeda chapters operate in the Greater Horn area, in Somalia especially, then the Islamic State, etc. And I believe Turkey also plays a role, hand in hand with African countries, to at least mitigate this threat coming, threat to peace and stability. If you could care to say something on that.
Well, Turkey, as I said, Turkey and Ethiopia face this similar challenge. Turkey has a lot of experience, unfortunately, in dealing with counterterrorism measures. We have also faced terrorism in our own country in several facets. And with this experience that we have gained, we also, of course, try to share with our friends in international fora, bilaterally, etc., how we have gone about this. And it's also important not just to share this experience, but to make sure that insecurity doesn't emanate from this region to anywhere else, of course, because Ethiopia, especially, as we say, is a part of the wider Middle East as well. It's an African country, a proud African country, but also a part of another region, we feel. And so there are a lot of threats in this country, people who have groups that have eyes on this country, etc. And it's important, and we would like to be of help in any way we can to ensure your security.
Very, very well so. And that's what we see, by the way, and that's remarkable. The next question will be on the United Nations, of course, and that is, Turkey and Ethiopia belong to those group of countries who are, I would say, founders of the UN. Before that, even the League of Nations, etc. So Turkey had played from the beginning, from day one, had contributed towards international peace, stability, and etc. within the United Nations. The United Nations has different organs, General Assembly, ECOSOC, and all the others, and plus most of all, the United Nations SC, Security Council. There is there is talk everywhere now, discussion about how to go about it. We live in different times now. There's a new international hierarchy of power, so to speak. Turkey is one regional power that's emerging with the naked eye to see for everyone. And there are also other regional powers. In Africa, we have Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt in the north, and Ethiopia in the east. We have in Asia, Japan, Mexico in Latin America, Brazil in Latin America, etc. So in this discussion of the restructuring of the UN Security Council, if you could enlighten us whether this is also discussed formally, informally, in the Turkish society, by academics as well as in the diplomatic circle. Thank you.
This is an issue that is discussed very often in Turkey. The discussion has started with our president, Erdogan, who always says that the world is bigger than five, referring to the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, because times have changed. And it's not possible anymore for the global decisions to be made by 5 members. So Turkey believes that there should be a comprehensive, deep reform of the United Nations, all its organs, not just the Security Council, but also the Security Council. And we are very active in the intergovernmental consultations that are being held in New York at the headquarters of the UN. Even in Addis Ababa, we are talking about this a lot with our African Union counterparts, about our views on this. And we believe that it should become more representative, more effective. We need the United Nations. We need it to be effective. The way it is now, it's not as strong as it should be. And when we look at the argumentation that the African Union member states bring, we believe also, we agree, that there has been a historical injustice towards African countries in the UN system, and that they should be much more representative in the UN Security Council. We hope that these talks will lead soon to some kind of concrete outcome where Africa will also be better represented.
Yeah. And also maybe Turkey, what do you think?
Of course, as well.
As a member of the Security Council, because it goes without saying, in the Asia Minor, 2 legs, one in Europe, one in Asia, long history, strong politically, militarily and the like. I think I have seen a short list of states, and Turkey belongs to that. Japan in Asia and everything, so Turkey definitely will be one of those candidates.
Turkey would like to make any contribution it can to making sure that the United Nations is stronger.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Now, one other question that I have is regarding the African Union, because Your Excellency, you are not only an ambassador based on the bilateral diplomatic fora, dealing and willing with the Ethiopian, Turkish, multifaceted relations. You are also the permanent delegate of the Republic of Turkey to the African Union. And if you could share with us some of your activities in the AU.
Well, the most important one, the one I'm most proud of having been able to do here in my time here in Ethiopia, was to have been able to participate in the Turkey-Africa Union Summit of December, which has led the newfound station stones for the new era in Turkey-AU relations. We have very close relations with all the departments of the African Union. We make a contribution as well to the African Union, a financial contribution. And this, of course, helps us also deal with more concrete projects, because in planning this contribution, etc., we look into what Turkey is most interested in all of these facets, the activities of the African Union. So we deal a lot with peace and security issues. We try to help there. We also have health issues. We donated millions of vaccines against COVID, to African countries, also through the help of the African Union. There, for example, that was our door in the past few months. So many different facets.
Very good, very good. And if you don't mind if I go piggyback a little bit to Tika, because I'm fascinated, I try to read, and Tika is really, as you have pointed out, is in so many, I believe 20-something offices in Africa alone. The Turkish, for our audience, the Turkish coordination, the Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, as it is called in English, equivalent in English. And it is also very active in Ethiopia.
Yes.
Could you please share with us what kind of projects that you are interested in and what Tika is involved in?
Of course.
Thank you.
In Ethiopia, as I said, it was the first Tika office in Africa was in Ethiopia. So it's been here for a while. The 2 major projects that it did here were more cultural. One was the Harar Consulate General, which is now a Turkish cultural center. And the second one was the Nejashi Mosque. Near Mekelle, which it renovated And this was finished 2 years ago.
Okay.
Turkey spent a total of $5 million on that, and it turned into a beautiful, the old cemeteries, a mosque, a cultural center as well in there. So those were the two major things that Tika did, two big cultural things that would increase, of course, tourism also in Ethiopia. And then there are also, of course, they like to focus on development issues.
Yeah.
So not just on humanitarian aid, but development, so that, teach how to fish instead of being a fish kind of thing. So, for example, in Addis, they made a center where Ethiopian women come to weave and to do textiles, and then they sell there. So it's sustainable. It keeps going. It's not a one-time thing. They have also distributed things like blankets, etc., in all parts of the country. Humanitarian aid also does come into it, but they're focusing more on more sustainable aid.
Great, great. And if you don't mind, Your Excellency, very general question, that's tourism, Turkey is well known. It's a very well-known tourist site. And Ethiopia aspires to be one of those tourist sites, with all the cultural heritage sites that we were endowed with, like Turkey, rich history, thousands of years of history. And what do you think can Ethiopia learn from the tourism sector, from Turkey, really?
Yes, I do believe I've traveled all around Ethiopia. There are very few places I have not been, and I hope to finish that. And the amount of beauty and culture that you have to offer the world is incredible. And of course, there is need for more infrastructure. That's normal. And as you said, Turkey has a lot of experience in that. So what I would like to do is, first of all, I made a call to Turkish entrepreneurs, Turkish tourism agencies, etc., to look at Harar as well, for example. This is a beautiful city, enclosed, without ruining it. Never. With complete restoring a few places, opening a cafe here, a restaurant there, a little boutique hotel there, etc. It would be lovely. It goes for other places, but Harar came to my mind, of course, because there's a lot to do there. Also, we can do, of course, training, and we have started a little bit, training from our Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Tourism, to their counterparts here, about how we overcame our problems and how we. So training is something that Turkey is very strong at, and we've been doing that a lot on many issues in Ethiopia, not just tourism, many issues. To share our experience. That's what we're here
for. That's what Ethiopia needs.
That's what the embassy is here for.
To build up the hotel industry, really. Because Ethiopia lacks that, as you have adequately explained.
That's another sector for investment, of course, tourism.
Very true.
Which I think not just Turkey, many countries would be interested in Ethiopia.
Yeah. What comes into my mind is little things like Turkish coffee, baklava, If you could care say something, because in Ethiopia it's well known. And,
Well,
that's the cultural aspect of
that's
life.
one thing that we do share. Is our love for coffee, and in a different ways, ceremonies of coffee, and we even have sayings about coffee. How one coffee is worth 40 greetings, etc. So that is something that we absolutely share. Another thing that shows that we share so much is the love of Ethiopians for Turkish series. Soap operas, etc. Whenever I go, I always say the Turkish soap operas are better ambassadors than I am, because people already love Turkey just because of having watched the soap operas. And that, I guess, shows that there's a lot of cultural affinity, because you don't really like something that's very foreign to you. So obviously it shows that it's close to Ethiopian hearts, the way we live, the love towards our elders, the respect towards our elders, the family ties, the way we have our ceremonies, national holidays. It's this feeling that we have for the past, traditions. These are all things that are very common to us.
Exactly.
And that make us understand each other more. And that's the reason why whenever I say Ethiopia in the streets in Turkey to friends, to people, they immediately get a very warm smile on their faces.
Wonderful. And by the way, if I could, the film, you have said it, we see it every day. Especially we are now in the media, business, and also among family and friends. I mean, it's so popular, you can't imagine. Turkish soap operas, there are our competitor TV stations, they also air Turkish, and people really love it. If I could say, familyhood, love, respect for the elders, respect, honor, things like that, which the two cultures which they share. And I agree with you, that's the main reason why people are closely watch over that, and it's really fascinating to see that fine arts, movies, arts per se has also grown between the two countries. Thank you for raising that, by the way. Thank you for pointing this point. And if you could allow me, general question, a very general, and that is, Ethiopians, when we grow, we learn about Turkish history in high school and, of course, in the university. And one person that really fascinates is the father of Turkey, Kemal Ataturk. We have read, all Ethiopians know about it. If you could, tell us about what it means, for Turkey, and the like, for secularism and the like.
Yes, yes. Atatürk continues to be our our founder.
Yes.
Our founder,
Yes.
very respected.
Yes.
The one who rid the country of countries who were trying to invade Turkey. A magnificent soldier who declared Turkey's independence, who then declared